Good evening, welcome to this week's meeting of the Norton Board of Selectmen. Today is Thursday, November 1st, 2018. Let the record show that all members are present. Mrs. Steele will be here in a couple of minutes, but she's on her way. So all present along with Town Manager Michael Units. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have nothing under licenses and permits announcements. Mr. Selva, you got anything?
I don't have anything to share.
Mr. Bramwell?
We have a notification of a open house at Southeastern Regional School on Saturday, November 17th. The Southeastern Regional Vocational Technical School will hold its annual open house from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The open house is an opportunity for the general public, including community officials, to tour our facility and see for themselves the high-quality, free public education is available to students from our 9 communities. Our open house is designed to demonstrate the variety of academic and vocational technical programs we offer, as well as post-secondary program offerings available at Southeastern's Technical Institute. If you're planning to attend on November 17th, please contact us. I guess it's more addressed to the Board of Selectmen for a private tour, but if somebody's got time or has any inclination to either go into one of the vocations or even their technical institute. I know my wife got her LPN training there, and it was an excellent program, so it's well worth the time.
Thank you.
And that's all I've got.
Larry?
I do. I'd like to congratulate the 12U Lady Black Knights Chair Squad. They won the Bay State Conference Championships and are on to the state championships. They're coached by Jen Hoffman and the assistant coach of Rebecca O'Connor. This year's squad is comprised of Kylie Brunel, Ava Carroll, Coral Ann Chafee, Quinn Connell, Dakota Corndell, Maria Diambra, Mia DiChiaro, Sophia Gariepi, Caitlin Healy, Riley Hoffman, Laura Lily Kane, Kaylin Lawrence Flowers, Samantha Lennon, Cadence Mastro Mateo, Ava Menyo, Paige Morris, Cassidy Phillips, Sarah Regan, Grace Soyden, and Emma Valenzola. Come out and show your support as the 12U Bay State Champions Chair Squad takes a stage at Lowell Memorial Auditorium at 12:33 p.m. with awards shortly thereafter.
Wow, that's great. Give us those names again.
Some of those names are tough. I'll tell you one. Laura Lorelli. I haven't seen that one before, so it was.
You did well.
Jen.
Huh?
You better give that to Jen.
Yeah.
So she
You
can,
did well. Anything else?
That's all I've got.
You know, a veteran or senior could use the benefit of a cooked Thanksgiving meal. They're going to be delivered to them on Thanksgiving Day. If anyone's interested, call the Norton Senior Center, 508-285-0235, to sign them up. Again, this may be not for yourself. If you have a neighbor or someone that you know may be alone that day, there's an opportunity to send over a hot meal to them. Again, the phone number is 508-285-0235. We want to remind everyone again that the Norton Veterans Council is going to have the Norton Veterans Day Parade. The parade will be held on Sunday, November 11th, 2018. That's different than most years. Most years we have it usually on a Monday or Tuesday, but it has to fall on the 11th day, the 11th hour, so November 11th will be today. So it'll be on Sunday, November 11th. In case of the inclement weather, the ceremonies will be held inside the Henry A. Yale Gymnasium. This year, the participants will include the 20th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry Company D, and the event will be starting at the Henry A. Yale. Kickoff is 12:30 p.m., which is later again than we normally have it. It'll be 12:30 p.m. kickoff and 1 o'clock with the time of the parade. So if you're in town on the 11th, that definitely is something to participate in and see. It runs from the Yale School down to the end of Pine Street. It'll come back up to, we can't use the common this year, we have it all torn up, but it's going to go to the Wet Memorial for a brief ceremony, and then it'll be coming back to the Yale School, so. If anyone has any questions, they can contact Ed Walt at 508-254-1283. Again, that is Sunday, November 11th. There we are, we're early, okay. We have Mr. Vote to approve and sign the amendment to the contract between the Town of Norton and the Norton Police Superiors Officers Association, the NPSOA, the period from July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2020. Mr. Units?
We reviewed this previously, and the union did agree to the amendment. This will provide for a set rate when a superior officer is doing detail work, rather than what we had where it was based on whoever's salary was doing the work, and it's better for the contractors, and hopefully this will make it easier for some companies that are bidding on projects in Norton to know what the rate is.
So it's a fixed rate for everything, no matter, we have
Right.
one fixed rate for patrolmen, we have one for the
For
superior.
sergeants and lieutenants.
Anyone have any questions? Speaking of contracts, on the next agenda, Mike, could you put on there the article, discussion about the article we had at the last town
Oh,
meeting
yeah, I thought
about
that was going to be on here. Okay, yep.
the next one?
Yep.
Next meeting. Okay, we have a vote to declare Old Town fence as surplus. So let me tell you the story.
Excuse me,
We- yeah.
you got to vote on the,
You want to vote on that?
well, I don't,
You can't.
I know, but I didn't say we have to, I said
Thank
you
you.
have to.
Chair, entertain a motion to approve the contract between the Town of Norton and the Norton Police Superior Association for period ending July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bramwell. All those, no, let's do it one at a time. Mr. Flaherty,
Yes.
Mr. Salvo,
Yes.
Mr. Bramwell?
Present.
Present, and I too vote yes. Okay, thank you. Thanks for keeping me on track.
That's what I'm here for.
The record show Mr. Steele is here. These guys were all saying 7:15, but I stuck up for you. I told them 5 minutes. Just so you know that.
Part of this.
A
There's a picture.
vote to declare the Old Town Common fence as surplus. So we're just about recycled everything we can on the town common fence that's worth recycling. The old pieces are in storage, and what we'd like to do is we'd like to declare that as surplus, the material as surplus, and then try to sell the sections. We have people that are actually interested in buying sections of the historic fence, and what we'd like to do is put something together where we can maybe sell, they're in 10-foot sections, so we'll sell the 2 posts and the centerpieces. Not saying they're in great shape, but if you want to own a piece of history, Town of Norton, if we declare the surplus, I'll work with Keith, and we'll come up with a dollar amount what we think they're worth. We'll advertise it and see if we can sell them off by piece. We thought we could just simply just go out and sell them off and get rid of them, but we have to declare them as surplus. All the proceeds will have to go back into the general fund. It doesn't go back into the town common, it'll go back into the actual general fund, so. Whatever we make off, it'll offset some of the costs the town has had to put up for the fencing, so. We're about 85%,
Come with or without lead paint?
both. About 85% complete. We're working on the lamps now. We have, the lamps we have to finish, we have trees we have to do, which will probably be in springtime. And the fence pieces, we're still waiting for the additional pieces, but they should be here shortly. We hope to have everything wrapped up before Christmas this year, and then we'll finish it in the spring. So Chair, entertain a motion to declare the Old Town Common fence as surplus.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Vote allowing electronic receipts for hearing publications. I have no idea.
Yeah,
It's all you.
it's not a requirement that someone do this, but the post office now is setting it up, so rather than someone have to have all the green cards, they'll just email a list to them. So we could get an electronic email list of all the people that received and signed off, rather than have to get all the green cards. So it could speed things up in the process, so just wanted to get your blessing to allow it during hearings.
So just people understand what we're talking about here is, we have a hearing on a pole relocation. We have to notify all the abutters. They have to sign a registered letter. The green card that's on the back of the letter comes back to us. When they have the hearing, we ask them, do you have the signatures? And they will normally turn them over to us. Are you saying they don't have to have those anymore?
Right.
We'll have to rely
They-
on the post
they-
office to give us this
They can
information?
still have, they can still, if they want, get the green cards, but if they want, the post office will just email them all the people that signed, and they can bring that.
Does the post office capture the signature?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just like a photostat of the
Right.
green card.
Right.
But that way the post office doesn't have to save them all.
Right.
I guess my one concern is having the hearing and finding out that we don't have the information we need from the post office.
Well, it'd be just like, they'd have to, it's going to be emailed to the people that are coming.
Right,
to
it's
the
their
hearing.
responsibility.
So they'll bring that slip
Yep.
instead of green cards.
Okay, all right. Any conversation, questions? Seeing none, Chair, entertain a motion to allow electronic receipts for hearing publications.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Got a town manager, and I can do something else. I won't do those, but I got
No.
other stuff.
Look, I'll give you one, go ahead.
We did receive notice from the state that we're going to receive $111,991 more in our Chapter 90 aid this year, which is great news. So our total Chapter 90 aid this year will be $671,949. Today, we had
Chapter 90 funding is, for those you may not know what it is, that's our highways, street and bridge, and that kind of money that we get from the state. We match a certain percentage of it, and the state gives us the rest, so it's to make improvements on sidewalks, streets, bridges, town-owned property, town-owned roads. Yeah,
Today, we had a meeting of the MVP Planning Committee, and Brad was there as the Selectmen's representatives, and we had representatives from the schools and all town departments, and representatives from companies and utilities. So it was the first planning committee meeting of the whole group, and going to meet again next Thursday. And the Municipal Vulnerability Planning Committee is really dealing with the things that we're seeing now from climate change and trying to figure out where the areas are in town that we'll need to make improvements. And Serpid's working with us on this. They're the facilitator of the whole planning, and this will allow us to apply for grant money to make some of those improvements. If we have to improve a culvert on some street to eliminate flooding, hopefully we can use it for our generators in some town buildings. So there is money available, and without this study being done and a report coming out, we wouldn't be able to apply for that. And I want to thank Serpid and all the staff for all the work that they've done on this.
And if I may add, after our meeting next week, Serpent and the other groups that are working with them will make the final report that will be presented to us to approve it or to edit it. And in that time period, they will have public forums to let people know what's going on, that we're not sneaking around in the back room someplace doing something. It's just that right now, it's just gathering preliminary information from us. They'll write a report to submit to the state. And at that time, we'll share that with the public, and the public can have input for things that maybe we forgot, or, so they might add or be aware of it.
All right, very good. Mr. Zalbo, you want to read the public notice on the tax classification hearing? You have it?
Public notice, Town of Norton, fiscal year 2019 tax classification hearing. Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 56, on Thursday, November 1st, 2018, at 7:15 p.m. in the Selectmen's Meeting Room in the Norton Municipal Center, 70 East Main Street, for the purpose of determining the percentage of the fiscal year 2019 local property tax levy to be borne by each class of real and personal property. The Board of Selectmen will accept written comments prior to the hearing from individuals or organizations unable to attend the public hearing. Published in the Sun Chronicle, Saturday, October 13, 2018, in the legal section.
Thank you. We have Denise Ellis here tonight. She's our Director of Assessing. She'll give us an update on where we are and what's going on and how much money we want.
All right. So,
And it works.
yeah, first time. All right. So the purpose of this meeting tonight is to decide whether you want to vote on a single tax rate or a split tax rate. Okay. You're also going to decide if you want to do a small commercial exemption and a residential exemption. We have 5 classes, 5 property classes. We have residential, open space, commercial, industrial, and personal property. Norton does not have any open space, so we just only have 4. So this year, it's the classes, residential is obviously our highest class. That has gone down a little bit to 83%. Commercial, slight decrease to 6.10%. Industrial has gone up to 7.87%. And personal property is at 2.8%. And the reason why industrial has gone up so high this year is because of Elm Island Pharmaceuticals. They are starting to build. We picked up some of that new growth this year. Whether that's going to happen next year, it all depends on the timing, because they do have a TIF. So we'll have to see what happens with that next year.
On the open space, Denise, before we get off that, can you tell us what that exemption is all about? We don't have it, but
We don't have it, so I try to have it right here. Oops, sorry about that.
that's all right.
Oh, where'd I go?
I'm just curious about what it is. I would guess it's to encourage people to
Yep,
hold
so,
land as open space and maybe give them a break on their taxes because they're doing something like that.
yeah, we don't have any, so you can get an exemption of 25%. It's for, so as it says, open space discount defined as land which is not otherwise classified and which is not taxable under Chapter 61A or 61B, which is chapter land, and or under a permanent conservation restriction.
Okay.
So as far as I know, we don't have any in our system. And if you were to do it, they can get up a 25% exemption.
Yeah, I don't think there's any big landowners out there anymore. There may be a couple, but there's no.
Yeah, it seems like they're all starting to sell off bits and pieces since I've been here.
What was the commercial rate last year, do you know?
The commercial rate last year was, it was in the 6s, so I'll get to that. Let's see, I'll just move up a little bit.
I'll let you go ahead.
That's okay. So the commercial rate last year was, I have a better one here. So, let's see, last year, 2018, the commercial was 6.61, then it went to 6.1 this year. 2017, it was at 6.28. Industrial, last year was 5.59, so they kind of fluctuated a little bit, and personal property is at 2.41. So you can see that the residential is starting to go down a little bit, and the commercial industrial is starting to slightly go up. You'll see the industrial has gone up pretty high this year, and again, that's because of Alnylam. That's probably going to end up going back down maybe next year or the year after that because of the TIF.
Unless we do something down on,
Yeah, depending on what else is coming into town, but just based on what we have right now, hopefully it'll keep going up and the residential will come down. But we're still at 83%.
hopefully Wonder
So-
Street will be under some kind of, hopefully Wonder Street next year will be under some.
Yeah, hopefully, and then it all depends on when the construction starts and when we can start picking it up. So it's because we're a 653 community, we pick up as of June 30th. So,
And just, Denise keeps referring to it going down because of the TIF. That's because right now, until Alnylam is finished and gets their occupancy permit, then they can't have a TIF. So we're taxing them on what's there now as they go along. Once they get their occupancy permit, that next year, they get a 50% break on the taxes. So that's why I would.
right, thank you. That's exactly it. Any other questions on that? No, okay. So, let me just go back a little bit. So we did the open space, so, so this is the valuation for this year so far. As you can see, we have the residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property with the total valuation of $2,525,874,930. And again, some of that was for, the industrial has gone up to 198,761. So it went up pretty high on that one. So what's the shift? Again, shifting the rate moves the money to be raised from the residential to commercial industrial. So that's something that you would need to decide what you want to do. And so we talk about the residential factor. I'll go up to here. Should have a new. So you see here the residential factor. So if we had a residential factor of 1, that would keep the residential and the commercial, industrial, personal property at the same rate, $14.90. If we shifted it with you can go up as high as you want, up to the 150. So if we went up to 110, the residential tax rate would be $14.62, and the industrial, commercial would be $16.39, and so forth, going right down.
So,
What would be, you don't have to give it to me today, but if that was a change to that, what would be the increase on the commercial side as far as?
The commercial side, I think it would probably, I can double check the numbers. I think I looked at it real quick. I thought I put it in my notes, but I didn't. It was going to be maybe like an additional $1,000 or something like that to commercial. It wasn't a big jump, unless you went further down. And again, you can go up to the 150. So, but you have to keep in mind, if you do that, you have a lot of small commercial out there, and you have to decide if they can take that hit or
Correct.
not. So that's the big concern.
a
So,
lot of towns take advantage of going on the higher side of the commercial side of the business, commercial, and later on, once you've developed all your land and everything's gone, and you're not trying to encourage business, some of the older communities in town, in the state, are now starting to shift their burdens toward the commercial side, is because there's no place else to go.
Correct.
So they've already got everything they can from the commercial side, and they're just shifting the rate now. We're not there yet. We still need to develop some additional commercial and industrial land first, and then we could take a look at doing a split rate in the future. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
And we actually have this conversation every year, but I think it's worth pointing out again, as we do every single year, that if we were to increase the business or commercial, just looking at 1.10, the savings to the residential is minimal versus the cost to the commercial
Commercial.
and industrial is somewhat significant in comparison. And like you said before, Mr. Kimball, we do have a lot of small businesses in town that support us in other ways. So it's always been my opinion that since the savings to the residents is minimal, versus the cost
Yeah.
to the commercial industrial, that we should stay at the 1 and not hurt the small businesses in town.
And that's a good point. I had to send out 4 letters today on behalf of the Gold Star Committee and the Town Common Committee, thanking local businesses for their support.
I think it might be different if the makeup of our businesses in town were more industrial and less commercial, right? But we don't have very many industrial
They would-
companies that might not feel the pain.
They wouldn't see it as much.
No, the industrial wouldn't, but the small commercial, the Dunkin' Donuts, the hairdressers, those guys are gonna feel this. So it's my opinion that we should leave it where it is.
And just to go back, you see that the estimated tax rate right now is going to be $14.90. FY18, we're at $15.16, so we're going to be going down, 26 cents for this year. So that's the estimated tax rate now.
So, again, people, we got to be clear on this, because I know that people are going to be asking the question. Tell us why it's going down. We have an assessed value
Right.
that goes up every year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 2.5%? Roughly, above roughly 2.5%.
Yeah.
Which is mandated by Proposition 2.5. So
Right.
the assessment rate goes up.
Mm-hmm.
The tax rate is adjusted to reflect that,
Correct.
right?
Correct. So usually when all the values, when the values are going up as well, then the tax rate will usually come down, same reason. So yes, that is why the tax rate's going down.
But people have to understand that the value of their home just went up.
Correct.
The tax rate went down because they're offsetting each other.
Right, and the,
The
and
tax
the,
bill is not going to go
Going
down.
yeah.
no, the tax bill is not going down.
It's probably going to go up.
It's probably going to go up, and then we have estimated that the average tax bill the average assessment's probably going up about 5%. And that's for different factors. Number one, the values are going up, because everybody's buying their homes. And that, I just lost my train of thought, but, so the values are going up, so you're gonna see all the assessments going up. And we are looking, when we say that, some people might go up 10%, some people might not go up at all. So what we're doing, we're looking at the market, we're looking at the style of the house, the condition of the house, the neighborhood, we're taking in all those factors before we actually raise the values on it. And we're looking at the market and we're comparing it to that. And, you can have colonials going up, but ranches going down. And I believe this year, the ranches are going up again. The last couple of years, ranches and raised ranches have been getting hit. This year, I believe it's the ranches and like the little cottages that are going up a little bit, more than, say, the colonials and the other homes. So everything is different. So it depends what's out there and what's selling at what price. Because we're going, for this FY19, we're using sales based on FY17. We're always behind, so.
Mr. Chairman, question.
Sure.
When they go around to do the assessments, the people that you hire to do the assessments.
Yep.
Sometimes they'd like to see the inside of your house to see
Right.
whatever.
Right, we just want to make sure we have everything
So,
correct.
in an instance where a homeowner won't allow them to come in and look and see that anything's been done or not, do they have do you have a set fee where you guesstimate that? Or is it
Not
just
really.
stay the same?
I mean, I'm sure they do it the same way I do when I'm out there. I'll look at the home, and if there's no building permits pulled, they're not letting me in, but I can tell the house has been worked on. What we have different factors. We have, like, for the inside and the outside, actually, we have factors that have average, good, very good, excellent, and superior. So if I'm out there and the house is average, I'll probably just put it up to good. I'm not going to hit them up to the very top, obviously. I mean, we don't want to kill anybody, but we want to try to get our assessments correct. And number one, it's the assessment, but two is when somebody's selling their home, and then we have the real estate appraisers coming in and the real estate agents, and nothing's matching up. Or, they're starting to do their refinance, and the bank's calling us, well, we don't have this information. So it's really necessary that we have the correct information for all those different reasons. So, yeah, we do kind of guess, so.
The downside is if you, see, our building commissioner's here tonight, but if you do all these renovations, don't pull any permits, now you go out and you assess it, and you realize that the quality of the house has improved. You probably don't know why, haven't pulled any permits, but in your opinion, it's not an average home, it might be
It might be a good home,
in good home,
yes,
in good shape.
right.
The downfall for the homeowner is if they don't notify, the town doesn't know that the value has gone up, and they want to refinance or anything like that, the detriment is the fact that you're showing one number and they're saying, well, no, my house is worth this.
Right.
Town said, no, it's not, it's worth this, because they made improvements that nobody knew about to begin with, so the value went up, and
And one other thing that happens, because I know it happened to a few people, they bought a house that was all renovated, they went to sell it, and the bank came back and said, where's the permits? There was never any permits pulled. And it was 2 people before that. So you never know what's going to happen with the bank, so I always tell people, be very careful what you're doing. And just because you do a renovation and we come in, it doesn't mean we're going to put your house up. I mean, if somebody puts in a bath renovation, I go out there and it's not gutted and all redone, it's staying the way it is. I'm not going to spike that assessment up. Because I go by what I think the market's doing, and that's how we evaluate everything. So,
Thank you.
okay, you're welcome.
yes.
I just want to say Denise has been doing a great job. Before Denise came here, like our new growth every year was 200,000-300,000. Now we're approaching 1 million because Denise is going out and doing the work and keeping on, the homes that are built. That right away she's out there, any renovations and keeping everything up to speed.
And thank you, Mike. And I also want to thank Chris, because he has actually gotten me on the sign-offs for new construction, so I can finally get into these homes, where before the other building commissioners wouldn't let me do it. So now he's letting me in, so we're getting everything pretty accurate now, so we're working very well together. So, and it's going to help those people in the long run, because I had to guess at what was out there. So it's working out very well.
And,
Thank you, Chris.
You couldn't do it without your assistant, right? Do you want to introduce?
Felicia, yep, couldn't do it without Felicia, my right-hand person.
Plus, Chris
Thank God I have her.
Chris has introduced us to a new software program that we're going to be putting in place,
Yep.
which will notify every department on any changes that are being made, so that's yet another good tool you'll have.
Yes, it's everything, it's going upward, so it's going to be great.
Just what Denise was saying, and the treasurer has said the same thing to me, that the coordination with Board of Health and Building and the treasurer's office and assessors, she was just telling me today, it's great the way everyone is just working together to make sure.
Yep, we're trying.
Good. Mr. Steele?
I know it's obvious to us, but it may not be obvious to everybody who's listening, but this is our revenue stream. It's our main revenue stream. We're residential. That's where our dollars are coming from. So if we're not capturing all the dollars that we can, it's affecting our bottom line when we're trying to take care of town hall, take care of the schools, take care of public safety. So I think it's just, people who are out there thinking nobody likes to pay taxes, but there's a reason why they're set, and I think our town is very fair in what we do. And so, I think people should look at this with an open mind and realize that, by doing their fair share in helping the assessor's office, we're also helping the town as a whole in order to, max our budget out with as many dollars as possible.
And that's where this new electronic application program process will make the town more money for the application fees. Plus, it will notify all departments of any improvements. So it's a win-win no matter how you look at it, and I'm excited about getting this new program up and running so we
Yeah.
can see how it works.
Very excited
because
about it.
after the building inspector's office, we may be able to use other areas of the town where we can get a better handle on what's going on, so we can continue to raise revenue that we really do need.
Yep.
So it would be great. Mr. Bramwell?
I was on what Mrs. Steele was mentioning. Rather than the amount of money that's coming in, it's how it's split among people. And if people aren't letting them in and they're not getting a true assessment, they might not be paying their fair share. And that's more because the bottom line is what's controlled by Proposition 2.5. And so if I've got a $1 million house in a $50,000 shell, then I'm not paying my fair share. And that's more of it, it's
Sure.
somebody's basically ripping off their neighbors.
And the other thing is that we might have people over-assessed, and they should let us in so we can fix it. I mean, I've come across many of those, so I've had to lower the assessment a little bit. Because we want to be fair. We want to have everybody have the right assessment, so, If anybody thinks that their assessment is wrong, you should just notify us, and we'll come out and take a look at it, so.
Okay.
Okay. So, so obviously the values are going up. So last year's average single-family value was $338,526. This year, it's gone up to $356,000. Average tax bill has gone up a couple $100 from $51.35 to $53.05. It's gone up, but not huge. And then the average commercial industrial has gone up from 1.262 to 1.394 million. And their tax bills have gone up not much, about 19,156 to 20,782. And that's, keep in mind, that's the average tax bill. So there's some out there that are a lot higher and a lot lower. So then we have the residential exemption. So this is, a residential exemption is used mostly for like the cities. Boston and Cambridge have them. And all the towns and cities that I've looked at, it's usually just the big cities that have it. It's designed to, you know, give a relief to taxpayers for their principal residents. So you definitely see that in the city, but most towns, I don't know of any town that actually has it.
Some of the Cape Town.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably the Cape Towns have it. I would think they do. But
Right.
around here,
It's
usually just the
right,
cities.
it's inexpensive because most of them are summer homes,
right,
have no impact on the school systems.
right.
So the rate, taxes are lower because of it.
And then we have the small commercial exemption. So, so this is for businesses that cannot have more than 10 employees, as certified by the Department of Employee and Training. One business in a building cannot qualify unless all the businesses do. So if you have a, like a strip mall or something like that, they all have to qualify in order to get it. And the exemption goes to the building owner, not to the building, oh my God, my mind's.
Business. or-
Tenants,
yeah.
thank you. So it go the owner, not the tenants. Again, it lowers the taxes on the small businesses and shifts the taxes to the other commercial and industrials. We don't know of anybody that is eligible for that. We don't have any record of that.
And, Mr. Chairman, if there's an exemption, that means the other groups have to pick up the cost, right?
Correct. Somebody always has to pick it up somewhere,
It always has to balance. no matter
Mhm.
what.
right? So the things that were presented tonight was a minimal residential factor, and if you're going to grant a residential or small commercial exemption, and that my conclusion. So you just have to decide tonight whether you want to vote on a split tax rate or a single tax rate, and whether or not you want to vote on one of the exemptions.
Discussion?
All set.
I think, in my opinion, especially because of the percentages and the minimal effect that shifting has on individual taxpayers, that I believe we should stick with the single tax rate.
I agree. I think it's important for us to continue to try to develop additional commercial and industrial land as much as we can at present time. You know, I think shifting the burden to the small businesses will have a major impact on how they do their business day to day. It's having run my own small business at one time, I know it can be very costly. And I think it's only fair at this point that we continue to leave the factor at 1 and leave it the way it is, because it's probably the right thing to do at this time. It's the right thing to do. Any other discussion? Anyone in the audience have any questions or any concerns, anything you want to bring up? Okay, seeing there's no further discussion, the chair entertains a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those unanimous. Chair entertains a motion to set a tax rate at a residential factor of 1.
So moved.
Second.
That's correct, right? Yeah.
Yep.
We're leaving it the way it's flat rate,
Yep.
residential. So, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much.
Bills.
Should they vote
We
on,
have to vote on the single.
Oh, on the exemption,
On the what?
on the residential exemption and the commercial, the small commercial exemption.
Okay, Jen, motion to grant a residential and/or small commercial exemption? Is that what you want?
Yeah, do you want to vote, do you want to have a residential exemption? Either vote yes or no. Do you want a small commercial exemption, yes or no?
We did have to do that.
That's what I was trying to do.
So make a motion not to vote for an exemption on commercial or residential.
Right.
So moved.
Second.
Glad I'm here
Cleared
tonight.
that up.
Glad you were 15 minutes early.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything from us, signatures or anything?
We're going to need a signature from you, yeah.
is it in the box?
It's in the box.
It might be in the box. I don't need it tonight, though, so it's fine.
Usually
Thank
they're
you.
running out the door with it, but they
I
have
know, well, it's okay.
to run up the hill with it or something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Given her authorization.
Okay, next on the old business, we have a review of the departmental fee schedule for the October 18, 2018 meeting. Mr. Chris Carmichael, Building Commissioner,
Mr. Chairman,
evening.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we're still in the 19th century in the building department, so I can't put anything on
Thank
the
you.
screen for you.
Oh,
It's just for the near future, though.
is this the
You have a
same?
telephone up there, right? Same as this one?
Oh, do we?
No, this one's different.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Okay. So what we're doing is we're asking for, actually, Mr. Carmichael, they brought it to our attention that we really needed to take a look at our town fees. And from that, we've now reviewed most town fees other than the building inspector's fees. So you're here tonight to go over your suggestions on what we should do for the building department, so.
So per the request of the town manager, I was asked to assess the existing fees and relate them to the surrounding area. So I have done so. And state, county, region, and local, we are the lowest, one of the lowest rates within all of those aspects. So I'm asking the board to vote on a rate increase that will bring us up into the 21st century so we can increase the level of service that we can provide to this community, as well as help pay for the new online permitting and software that we're going to be implementing shortly.
As far as the rates go, are we still kind of like in the middle, based on the area communities, or are we on the?
The new fees will bring us up into a very similar rate to the communities around us, surrounding us. Some aspects are a little lower, some aspects are a little higher, but we'll average out to about the same.
And again, all the fees that we generate through these residential and commercial fees are, first of all, they're borne upon the contractor to pay them, and obviously that gets billed to the person that's getting the work done, but, you know, it's an individual choice. It's not something we all have to pay for, so. And the fees that are generated to go back into our general fund.
That's
That
correct.
helps us generate some additional money for town services, so.
So a lot of the fees are based now on square foot costs. Some of them net, some of them are gross. It's very inconsistent. The amount of time that I have to spend to review plans and then do the inspections, it doesn't really quantify what we're charging in fees. So we're losing money in that aspect.
Yeah, and that's the conversation I've been having with most of the people that we've been talking to is, will this at least cover us? We're not out to try to make a lot of money on it.
No.
We just want to make sure we put enough money into the process so it pays for itself.
Right, I'm supposed to be operating on a zero budget as a nonprofit. So these basically will address, the current salaries and services that we provide.
Anyone have any questions? We're going to try to make this an annual event. We try to look at this every year. I'm not saying everything has to go up, or, we might have something have to go down, I don't know. But we should be looking at all departments to see what these rates are, so we're not looking at something. I went through an exercise with the cemetery committee the other day, where they haven't done anything since 2014, and those rates in 2014 were lower than anybody else around.
That's correct. I
Even
think
the
the
new rates
last
are
fee
low.
change that was done in this department several years ago, they actually lowered the fees. So I don't know how that happened, but that was before my time.
Okay.
Also, I've based the fees on the cost of construction, basically so that the new online permitting can assess the fees for us and save the man hours and do the takeoffs for us right online.
Okay.
So I'll be asking for contracts or assessed values along with the other documents when they submit their application.
Okay. Does seem to make it simpler, doesn't it? Any questions?
I think this is great. I think it's great. I think we ought to look at it every year, like Mr. Kimball said, because the way cost of living goes up every year and insurance goes up every year, and, instead of going down, we should be going with it. If we have to make a slight increase or a small decrease, I think we should be looking at it, all of them.
Yep, I agree.
In conference with the town council on, just on the last item alone, the zoning determination letter, she said we should be basing something around $1,500. We're only getting $75 currently. So I've doubled that fee. That's the highest fee raise I've done, up to $150 or $250 for commercial. But that was last council's recommendation. But I couldn't see doing that.
Congratulations.
Any other questions? Mr. Steele?
Thank you very much for doing this, and I'm pretty much in agreement on everything. We need to be competitive with the rates around us. I did have a question on the, I don't really care that much on the commercial base, but on the residential, I kind of would like to keep those charges as low as possible for our townspeople. Under the solar energy system, what is the difference in what we were charging, 1% of a contract? So 1% of what they would be paying to put the solar panels in?
1% of the contract or the $50 minimum, so basically we would get a check for $50.
Okay.
Whereas now, I'll be getting, about 1% of the contract based on that. I'll have to actually see the contract fee.
Yeah.
Written contract, so I'll have to document that. So we'll, average cost of maybe $50, now we're gonna get a few $100. So just on the solar, but most of those incentives for solar have passed us, have already been rescinded by the federal government. I'm sure we'll see another round of it, but again, these fees are based on the local area, and I'm trying to bring them up to those, so.
And again, thank you very much. So my only comment on the solar energy would be just that I feel like that's an area that we should be encouraging people.
Again, they receive incentives from the federal government, and then
So
these are just covering our costs to go out and do these inspections. So structural inspections to the inside of the rafters on the house so that they can see it, the sheathing, nailing, the roofing that they get done. So it's several trips, and the electrical and the building inspector has to go out. So, for a couple $100, they're getting this permit, and it is just covering the cost.
My opinion of the building inspection department is they're there to protect me as a homeowner, to come out and make sure the guy that I hired, person I hired, does the right job, doesn't do something wrong. So I don't mind paying that fee if I know someone's going to come out.
Our
Make
mission
sure it's done
statement, yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Our mission statement is to build a better community, or a safe community, through the I-codes. So that's what we're trying to attempt to do.
That's a good mission. Yes.
And just on the solar projects, even on residential houses, aren't most of them actually commercial? Like, the residents, for the most part, don't own those panels.
No, it's a 20-year lease, and so they put a roof on, they put the solar panels on, and then they're coming off in 20 years. So yeah, you're right. So they're getting all sorts of incentives from the company. So there's not a lot of out-of-pocket expense for them, these. And again, our commercial rates, we're some of the lowest in the region, so that's where we've really addressed it. But we haven't even increased it as much as other towns.
Anyone else?
I just have one question. Mr. Carmichael, on the base fee for the demolition, so it's $100 base fee, and it make you go up, is it square footage when you can, like the 15 to 1,000, is that basically you go by that, or?
So basically, there'll be a document fee, the $100.
Yeah.
And then whatever the contract is, so if it's a $2,000 contract, I'll just get the percentage of that.
Okay, all right, cool, thank you so much.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Carmichael. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
that.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Yunus.
Thanks for doing the work.
Do you just want to quickly, we had a meeting today, so the timeline on the software that you're roughly working on?
So yes, so the software from Full Circle Technologies, they're sending us a contract. We'll be signing that within a week. Mr. Yunus will get the honor to do that. And then we're also addressing the hardware aspect of that. It was pretty much 50-50 as the grant that was issued at our town meeting last month. We're also moving forward with that, and then also with the electrical services, and then the software, other software that we need to implement. We're moving forward. We're hoping to implement somewhere around January 1st. That might get pushed back to February,
Good.
Depending on how everything comes together.
Great. Well, the sooner the better.
I agree.
Yeah, that's great. Great news.
So that'll be for 3 departments. That'll be building, health, and fire. So it won't be just mine. So
Once you get the system in and you get it up and running, perhaps you could show.
absolutely, it'll be a concurrent review with all town departments and Board of Selectmen. So you'll just be able to go in online, click on the application. You can see who's the applicant is, who the contractor is, and then you can go into the attachments to see the plans, the specifications. So it's everybody can review it at the same time instead of the applicant coming in and grabbing a set of plans and walking it 20 feet down the hallway. And again, we're in the 19th century, so this will expedite services. It'll make it easy for applicants at their home to they can apply on their phone, on their tablet, on their office computer. If we make it easier for them and more accessible, then I see more people pulling permits. I see fees going up across the board. It's universally, it's a win-win.
Good.
It's a no-brainer, sir.
Good, very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you.
Mr. Yunus, do we have to take each one individually, or do we have to, can we just do?
Before, I think what you did is voted the fees as recommended by the building commissioner.
Well, we didn't do any of the others either, did we?
Yeah, you did.
Did we?
I think you did vote them,
So the only one we didn't do was building, and we didn't do cemetery.
right?
I think you all have a copy of the new cemetery amended prices that I as of October 2018. So we went through these, cemetery commission went through them, and we did up a couple of them. Opening, again, we took into consideration what the cost, the labor cost, and what it takes to do this. We're not trying to make money, we're trying to make sure we cover our costs. And this pretty much is now where we stand as far as the new amended rates. The last time they were raised was in early 2014. Now, the perpetual care, obviously, that's designed to, again, to take care of the cemetery. You know, that's a cost that's borne on the person. Everything else on the list, for the most part, comes back into the general fund. So every time there's a expense, at least the town's getting their money back. The top one, the per grave, with a maximum of 4 graves for $400, that will go back into the general fund, and again, that'll help us pay for that land that we bought on Newland Street, help pay back some of the costs that we put out as a town. So we have a number of people that are already interested in buying the graves. For years, you couldn't buy one in advance. Now you can. Once we get this new cemetery up and running, you'll be able to buy spaces in advance. And we're expecting a pretty big influx of requests at the very beginning. And again, that money will go back into the general fund, which we could use for other purposes, including paying down the debt on the land we bought to put the cemetery there. So,
If the money all goes back into the general fund, the cemetery commission has no funds of their own?
No, we're paying them. See, cemetery commission, the only thing we have is a perpetual care.
That
So the perpetual care.
That's under their jurisdiction.
goes into that.
It seems backwards, but I mean, a lot of government things are backwards, but.
Well, if you think about it, our highway department's doing all the work, the burial work. The town's paying for the land. So the only thing that the cemetery department uses, the money they uses out of perpetual care is to take care of, how it's set up is they have the principal, which they can't touch, but they can work off the interest. So whatever, the more perpetual you have in there, the more interest you generate, you can use it. Like right now, we've got about $48,000 in interest that could be used by the cemetery commission, cemetery workers, to make improvements.
Well, I mean, I understand it. It's just that if the price per grave had been going into a fund under the cemetery commission's control, they could have bought the new cemetery.
Yeah.
That's why, to me, it seems like if you're selling part of it, that's the way to do it,
I
but
spoke to a lady in West Bridgewater the other day. She was having questions about a cemetery over there, and I called the town administrator, and he said, "We don't own it. It's a privately owned cemetery. They have 9 board of directors, they have 9 people involved, and they take care of the whole thing." And when I spoke to her, she said that they charge for everything. They charge all the stuff that we're charging for, that the highway department does, they're charging for, and they're getting reimbursed for it. So, and to your comment, to your point, their perpetual care, again, they're making enough money that they can buy more land and they can do other stuff. Where we're a municipality, I'm not sure we could even do it that way if we wanted to.
you probably could, but it'd probably be another enterprise account.
Yeah, probably. So, I mean, this brings it up realistically. The only thing that a per grave, $400 was the same as it was in 14. I kind of suggested maybe we should go up a bit more on that, but they kind of, I'm on the commission, so we were talking about it, and they felt that maybe the $400 was still fair enough, but we hadn't gone up that much the last time around either. So, Mr. Steele,
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask you about the per grave. How does that compare to area towns? Do you know?
where's the what?
How does it compare to area towns, the per grave?
We're on the
of
low
400?
side. We're on the low side of it.
We're on the low side.
Yeah.
And
I've got one here, I think. Town,
My father in Easton was $950.
yeah, it seems a little bit low
But I
to
think
me.
it was different because that was owned by a private person does the digging. It wasn't done by the town. And it's owned by the Immaculate Septic Church, which is a separate enterprise.
it's tough to find information on the computer for different towns and what they charge. The town of Bellingham is the one I found. They charge $500 per lot.
So, I mean, $500 per lot seems reasonable to me because, again, we're in a situation in town where we don't have a lot of avenues for revenue, and this is a little bit low as a fee. Who has the final vote on this, the Board of Selectmen or
Yeah.
the cemetery?
It was.
Oh, because I was going to say, I mean, I
I'll
would.
vote on it right now, actually.
So, I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but I think the per grave is a little bit low, and I would make a suggestion of 500.
I mean, the only reason why I agree with you, I mean, not the only reason why I agree with you. I take that back.
I heard
No,
that.
totally wrong.
I apologize. I agree with you, because looking at what they spend per day to do this, the truck, the excavator, the 2 men, that doesn't even cover the
Fuel.
cost to dig this hole. Really don't.
Yeah.
Again, if I'm looking at Bellingham as an example, Bellingham per grave is $500.
So that's,
Perpetual care per grave, $400. We're charging $250. Opening fee, $400 for us. They're charging $600. The foundation cost, we're charging $48 per square foot. They're charging $65. I mean, everything's much, we're still going to be on the low side on this, no matter how we look at it.
my personal opinion is if it's because of a deceased relative, maybe the 400's all right, but if people want to buy them ahead, I'd go higher. Otherwise, they're going to scoop up all the grave sites, and we're going to be in the same boat, because we're not going to have any place to
Or-
put people that have passed away.
We've hired a company to help us with this, the new Newland Street facility.
Mhm.
Based on today's burial rate, it's good for 147 years. So I'm not gonna worry about it.
No, I'm just saying.
Just if we can sell it. And more and more people are being cremated today. Like, one of the things we changed was, if you buy a lot, which is 3 feet wide by 11 feet long, I think, you can only put 2 urns in there for cremation. That's a real waste of space. And one thing we probably should be looking at is establishing a section of the cemetery where you can put maybe 2 urns and a plaque on top of it and call it a day, rather than waste all the space. If we do things differently, we'll never run out of space. But we increased that to 4. And now you can put 4 cremations per lot, because you have to put them in a concrete
Right.
urn, not an urn, but a
Vault.
vault. You have to put it, so that does take up a little bit more room, and you don't want to be running into others. In my family cemetery plot, my grandmother's underneath in a full casket, and we can put 6 people on top of that in the same space. So that's utilizing the space to the best of its ability.
You know, unfortunately, this past year, I've spent some time, and I don't know how they get between
Each other.
the lots.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fat, and I don't think I'm going to fit between my wife and the next-door neighbor.
I'm sure they'll cheat for you a little bit, don't worry about it. They'll make you fit, don't worry.
You know, I can't imagine, I can't imagine the backhoe operator having to get between those 2 cement vaults.
You know what the lady was saying in West Bridgewater, they've reduced theirs to 9 feet,
Okay.
11 feet to 9. She said, biggest mistake they ever made, because now the stones are falling in when they're
Yeah.
trying to dig them, because they don't have that extra space.
Yep.
So she goes, don't do that. So it's funny how
We
you,
still have a lot of issues in some of the older cemeteries where you go back in time, where they have the wooden vaults that are there, and you gotta be really, really careful. But yeah, they're tight fits.
this West Bridgewater does double stacking. They put one casket on top of the other, and urns on top of that. So they're really utilizing the space to the best of its ability.
Wow.
Mr. Chairman, I was actually wondering about that as well, since we're talking about space. Is there a reason why we can't double or?
Water.
Water
Oh, we have
table.
high water table?
Our water table is so high in this town, we couldn't go down far enough.
We're lucky we can put one in.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, we're looking at other options where we can use a different type of above-ground facilities for cremations in wet areas where we can maybe utilize that space for others. So, but anyway, it did go up a bit. The only thing we didn't touch was anything to do with the stillborn and all that. We didn't touch that particular one. The cement base went up a bit, but for the most part, we didn't really, we bumped up a couple of them, but not all of them. So. And even $200 extra on Saturday and Sunday to open those things up, we have to pay someone 4 hours at time and a half.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the equipment and everything else, and not one person can do it, it's 2 people. So then it really doesn't cover the cost. So are you suggesting maybe we go up to $500 per grave?
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't think we're being unreasonable.
Perpetual care at $250. Again, that's the money they can use to make improvements. And right now, with the interest rates the way they're at, they're not making much interest.
Is that 250 up from what it was?
I
Oh,
think it was up $50.
So maybe, we don't want to totally take advantage of people who are dying. Maybe leave it at 250 and look at that one for next year.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
The only one I'm really concerned about is the Saturday and holiday ones. at $200. It's open, to open up a grave on Monday through Friday is $400, which is, that's reasonable enough.
So it's an extra 200 on top of that for a Saturday? So it's 600?
Why don't we take it under advisement? and
We can
see if
talk about next year.
No, not, I was gonna say the whole thing, and see if Mr. Units can give us an idea of what we would pay for salaries for two men from the cemetery department to
Okay.
open a grave on a Saturday.
Maybe you could even go one step further, Mike, and check with neighboring towns and find out what they're charging, because the only one I could find online, like I said, was Bellingham.
A lot of the cities and towns don't really own cemeteries anymore. Most of them are private.
Holbrook's has switched to a private,
Yeah.
but I'll get you what I can.
Yeah,
But,
I
I
mean,
mean, that-
I'll give you what I have. His Sherborne, for a single lot, 4.5 by 9, which is wider, but, there you go. It's wider, but not as long. It charges $1,000. So, yeah, maybe we can take another look
Can we
at
look
it.
at this next?
Yeah, we can put it, let's put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, I mean, at least that way there, if we can have an idea of the
Yeah.
actual cost to open a grave.
Yeah, I'll give you what I have.
I think
Sure, it
that's
doesn't
more,
happen that often, but they're gonna get a 4-hour minimum to come in anyways. How long does it take to dig it, you know? Could it
There's
go
2
over?
guys,
Two guys, could it go over the 4, so it'd be, and if it's a holiday, it's totally different pace.
time and a half.
We should definitely be covering our cost.
Yes.
At a minimum.
Yeah,
100%.
Personally, I
only
think we
fair.
should discourage any Saturday or holiday burials.
and
Just
costs
to,
would do
but-
it.
and make the cost, so,
But I mean, even if we just do it to break even, I think it's gonna discourage it.
Right, exactly.
okay. We'll put that on the next agenda. How about the building inspector recommendations?
I think that should go.
Yep.
Chair, entertain a motion to approve the amended rates for the building inspection department? As,
All inspections.
As submitted?
all inspection departments, as requested by the building commissioner.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? And I know it may be a lot of work, Mike, but just out of curiosity, I know we're not supposed to be trying to figure out how much money we're gonna make on this, but I'd be kind of curious if we took last year's fees and the new rates, just to kind of get a ballpark of what we think, if we did the same as we did last year, how much more would it generate, just to give us an assessment of what it might cost, or what the fees might increase.
Yeah, I think like on the cemetery one, I'm less concerned with the cost of the lots as I am with the care and the openings. Because those we can put, real price tags to.
Okay. Take a look at it. Okay. You vote on that? We did vote on
We
it.
did vote
Yeah,
on
we
that.
did, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Town manager report,
Okay.
update on town hall and council.
Building inspector fees. You did vote on the building inspector?
I think so.
Okay, I was
We
sidetracked.
were not, Mike and I weren't paying attention.
Voted.
I know I did.
I just wanted to give you an update on the town hall and council on aging feasibility studies. You have in your packet a link to SurveyMonkey, and we've had this on our website, and it's on the sign out front, so people know about it. And this will give people an opportunity to answer some questions about a senior center and what they think should be in there. That was, and I want to thank Dina O'Brien, whose name is on the email that sent that to us. Dina is the rep on the building committee from the COA, and Dina's been very helpful. Dina worked in this field for the town of Plymouth before she retired, and she's been very helpful. And the architects for the town hall are working on a survey that will go to committees and boards that work in the town hall. They've also done a survey and gathered information from all the workers in the town hall, and I gave you a copy of that, just to see when they're working on the design and the space needed for a building.
I attended the last meeting, and I really was the first time I had a chance to look at some of the, the suggestions you were making. One thing I suggested for the Board of Selectmen was, we need a room that's big enough to handle, I think there's 100 people, right?
Yeah.
I think that was what their proposal was. That's more than enough. We suggested maybe it could be divided, so you could soundproof it, so you could have two meetings going in the same space. But the one thing I asked for was a small room adjacent to it where if a selectman with a desk or something, if you wanted to come in and have a private meeting with somebody, they'd have a place to go. And it could be used for other purposes too. Maybe you could seat, 6 to 8 people or something. But just an area where if we wanted to come in and have, in Mansfield, they actually have a room next to their main room where they have 5 desks set up and every selectman has a desk. I don't think we need that, but I do think we need to have a space where if we want to have a conversation, we can have it without interfering with anybody else. So if you guys come up with any other ideas, if you look this over, let the town manager know what your thoughts are.
I did meet with the architects this week because, just to go over with them, the town hall has a standalone site that would be here, and then a combo site where the senior center and town hall would be on the same property, Elm Street, and the other possible site would be East Main, down by the highway salt shed and back there. So just so they weren't duplicating services, DBVW is going to do a lot of the legwork on topographic surveys and things like that they'll need, and they're going to share. And then there was discussion at the building committee that we want to have a community room that people can use even on weekends if no one is around, that they can have access to a community room with bathroom facilities, whether the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whoever may have to have a meeting on the weekends. And then the question was, if that's in between the two buildings, well, who's going to control it? And more or less what the thought is that a room like that is usually in a senior center, and so that's going to be more of the responsibility of the architect for the senior center to have a community room in there, and then there'll be a connection of the two buildings somehow. They're working on it.
There was some discussion about, the young people in town too, and having a place to go. So that community room would be designed with that in mind too, if they want to have a dance. If we had a town meeting where we have special elections, if we have an election where people have to come in and vote, they could go and do that. Emergency center, have it designed so that if we lose our power, everybody knows one place they know they can go to. It'll be open, it'll be power, there'll be a kitchen there, they'll have the ability to put people up if they have to. So that's kind of a thought behind this general room that's going to be used for many, many purposes. They're talking about lounges, putting in couches and chairs where people could go in and use the Wi-Fi and, chat with other people. I mean, it's going to be a common room that'll hopefully have a bunch of different abilities that we could use it for.
Our architect that we're using, that's doing the feasibility study for the senior center, he also did work in Randolph, and this is what some of the towns are looking at. They obviously build a bigger building. It's like 35,000 square foot building. It's a community center rather than a COA. So it's used by all ages. So there was some discussion on that. And the other thing that came up was, what surprised me, that there's some thinking on generators, because this architect is also working with the town of Andover right now to put in an alternative generator at their senior center, which is used as the shelter. But because of the gas situation up there, they don't have any heat in the senior center now. So he was telling me, and I never thought of this, and in MVP, municipal vulnerability, was things we'll have to talk about, that they don't consider generators fired by natural gas as the best thing right now because of that. It's something that's subject, if something happens out in the road, during a natural disaster, you could lose your gas. So they're recommending generators that are propane fueled or diesel fueled, whatever, because you have a tank, it's
electric,
full. I was surprised at that when they said that, but,
It's actually true, because we just bought a brand new one for Bernie and Phil's, and they wanted to go natural gas.
yeah.
Because, during the storm, like, I was there shuttling fuel with my pickup truck, every day, and it was a pain in the butt, because in order for a fuel company to come out and fill up a tank, you have to be specially certified now. Even a home heating truck, they don't want nothing to do with generators. So we said, well, we're going natural gas. And they said, I advise you not to do that. For what reason? He goes, because if the pressure drops in the street, they can't feed that generator because you don't have enough fuel to assist it. It won't run. I didn't realize that.
I was shocked.
I think
Absolutely right.
I think that came up when we were doing the remodel of the high school.
Well, we have diesel. We have diesel on property.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had to get more fuel, at least we have it. We had to use it, I suppose.
You get a generator running the pump.
We don't have one of those. We're using the welding machine right now to run the pump.
I gave you this timeline too. We also met with our environmental engineers who are working with EPA and DEP on the Elm Street site. And just looking at some of the target timelines. And I noticed last week DEP was drilling some more wells closer into the building. So that'll be helpful to us because we were wondering about wanted to make sure there wasn't anything under the building. So
They got one right up against the front, almost by
Right.
the front door there.
I was amazed how close they were. So some of the things we'll possibly be looking at for this filing this January, if DEP isn't able to do the full assessment, we'll apply for an assessment grant from the state. If they are able to do it, we'll apply for a cleanup grant. So you can get up to $200,000 for an assessment grant and $500,000 for a cleanup grant. So the engineers are looking at that right now.
Can we apply for that now?
Has to be applied for in January.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're talking to all the different parties right now. EPA will be done before the end of December with their work.
So what's after the EPA? DEP?
DEP is also out there doing their assessment on the asbestos right now. So then the next thing would be Mass DEP's contractor is doing the assessment now, and then the asbestos abatement would be in the winter or spring of 2019.
What's after that?
After that, would be taking the building down. Once EPA finishes up with all the cleanup outside and all the asbestos is out, and if the tests come back good from under the building, then we'd just be taking the building down would be the next step.
Can they do borings through the building while it's standing?
They're debating that right now.
That would seem like a reasonable thing to do, would be to do the borings while the building's still up, so we have an idea what's underneath it.
One of the big concerns out there, our engineers were saying today, the chimney there, it's cracked from the top to the bottom.
I hear it's gonna have, we had talked about keeping that up like a monument. And they said, no, it's gonna fall, it's gonna come down. So, I'm also hearing that the roof and the floors are starting to cave in areas of that building.
Tell you, one good heavy winters
Yeah.
with the heavy snow.
So it's coming down by itself pretty soon. Careful.
So the architect for the town hall is meeting with the building committee again on November 19th, and the architect for the COA is still working on that, waiting for some more results. I guess he's received like 100 people have gone on and filled out the survey so far, so.
We can go online, I did it the other day, it takes a few minutes, but if we want to have some input on the COA, just go on and questions are simple, and it didn't take that long to do it.
All right.
Anything else?
Just on the 40B subsidized housing inventory, I know the chairman had wanted to see that. We're at 8.78%. So based on the account here, when this was done in 2010, that's the census that they're basing this on, we would need 82 more units, I believe, to get to our 10%.
Okay, so we still have, Strawberry Fields is still out there. Turtle Crossing, Bay Road Heights. Any others? That's Turtle Crossing. The one down the bottom hill?
Not the Turtle Crossing, was Newland Street.
Is that,
Yeah, it's Newland Street.
where is it?
This one's Island Brook.
Island Brook. It's not even on here.
No, because they're not approved yet.
They're still drawing plans on napkins.
No, there's a different guy in charge over there now. He
Use paper
sold-
towels?
he sold that like 2 times back. What they do, this is how 40Bs work. I buy a piece of land for 100 grand. I do a little bit of work on it, and I say, I'm gonna put a 40B on there. But then suddenly everything kind of fizzles. So this guy comes along and says, well, I'll give you 500 grand for it. Okay, so he sells it for 500. Now the base value is now 500,000. And then the next guy comes along and spends $1 million for it. So from out of the gate, you're already looking at $1 million. That's how they make their money. They're not building 40Bs to be, because they're so concerned about people having a place to live. It's all about how they make their money. My problem with it is, you got Island Brook down here, it's going through the process now. It takes months for the ZBA to deal with it. Are they still bringing in town council?
Yes.
Every time they have a meeting, they're bringing in town council. It's costing us money. So you've got, last time we checked with Island Brook, if they built all 4 of them, we'd be over 15%. We'd be over 15% on our affordable housing. We're only required to have 10%.
Island Brook, the problem with Island Brook, it's not apartments, it's houses, so you're not gonna get
That's
that
no problem.
many.
Yeah.
Turtle Crossing was the good one. If that had been built, would be done.
But even if they did Strawberry Fields,
That's not gonna be.
Bay Road Heights they were single-family homes too.
Right.
But-
Strawberry Fields is off the, when I heard, he's no longer even,
Yeah, well, it's still out there.
I know.
So,
How do they get that off? They have to go back to
well,
DHCD?
here's what I'm gonna suggest. You're right. Here's what I'm thinking. We need to start, we have to notify Department of Housing and Community Development that we are not gonna give any more extensions on these projects. I think that's how we're gonna have to handle this. They force these things down our throats. They're telling us we have to build them. And then they sit there for 10, 12 years and they don't do anything with it. And in the meantime, we have other
Cost us
people
money.
applying.
Right.
We can't stop the application process until we reach 10%. So now we've got Strawberry Fields, Turtle Crossing, Bay Road Heights, Island Brook under consideration. The last time I checked, we were gonna be over 15% if we build them all. I think what we need to do is we need to send a letter to the ZBA saying we're not gonna allow any more extensions. And we have to send a letter to Mass Housing saying, basically, we want you to force these developers to build what they said they were gonna build. Either that or withdraw, so at least we know they're not out there anymore. But every time we have one of these projects, it's costing the town tens of thousands of dollars. The cost is ridiculous on these projects. Then when we go through the whole process and they get what they want anyway, because we can't really stop them, they sit out there for years. Bay Road Heights has got to be, what, 12 years? 10 or 12 years?
That's when I got on the board
It's got to be. Strawberry Fields is
before.
before that, because I went on Channel 5 and was talking about affordable housing way back, God, it must have been around,
That's
was
when
in
you
black
got
and white.
You got the crow cake
no, it
back
wasn't
then.
black and white, but it was 15 years anyway. Hit him, will you?
Rabbit ears.
Well, 15 years. Turtle Crossing's had come and gone, come and gone, come and gone. We consider that was a friendly 40B, right? We were encouraging them to do it.
Now,
Now, that's fizzled.
recently, I'm trying to remember, I'll have to check on when that timeline runs out, because remember, he came here,
Ask for a 2-year extension.
right? Was that this past summer or the summer before?
It wasn't this past summer.
Yeah,
So it's probably a year and a half.
Yeah, didn't we grant it with the
Extension,
understanding
yeah.
that there would be no more extension?
Yeah. I think we need to let the ZBA and Mass Housing know that all these other ones that are on our books, we are not going to give any more extensions. I think we have to take a firm stand. We need to tell them, I almost say get off the pot, but we need to tell them that they need to force these developers, if they're gonna do it, to get it done. So we don't have to continue to take projects like Island Brook under consideration, because it's just it's a waste of our resources, time, money, resources. Can we send a letter
Okay, good.
to Mass Housing on the ones that have not been built, and tell them we're not gonna give any more extensions? We expect them to force the developers to build what they say they're gonna build, or withdraw, one or the other, and copy it to the ZBA and let them know that we've got their back on this, that we're not gonna put up with it anymore. I mean, it's ridiculous how long we've been waiting for this thing to be built.
Mr. Chairman, I don't really totally know the whole process. Is it our board that determines whether an extension is allowed, or the zoning board?
CBA and us,
It's zoning board technically, but
they
yeah,
give us the recommendations if we want to move forward with it.
Yeah, they came to us the last time, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, should the letter
go to the,
come from the ZBA? Should we ask them if they would send?
or do you want to send the letter to the ZBA and CC Mass Housing?
That's fine, too. All I want to know
With a
is,
recommendation that you're not
I
in
want
support of
I want to find out if we have the finals, if we
Yeah.
have to agree to the extension or not. Because I think in the past, we haven't.
And that was my second
think-
question. Can we not extend? Offer an extension? Can we say no? We've been before us 3 times, so we're done? This project ends?
We're dying,
We've only been asked one time, so I don't know.
We
It must be
did.
ZBA must be doing the extensions.
yeah. What I'd like to find out, who owns the property?
Not the same
And
ones.
What can be built there, other than a 40B, that maybe there are people that we could, if there's a piece of land that possibly can be sold off to somebody, other than 40B, is it non-buildable? Residential, commercial apartments?
No, it's zoned residential. They can build on it, but they can't build as many houses on it. Because they can't build as many houses on it, they don't make any money. That's why they go to the 40B process, because they can build a boatload of houses. 25% of them are affordable. They get market value on the rest. Arrowhead, that's how it worked on Arrowhead.
Okay.
They make their money.
I think the one we voted on for the extension, wasn't that because it was we had supported it in the past as a friendly one?
You're right, that's Turtle Crossing,
And so we had extended it the same way,
right.
and that's the only reason they came to us.
You're right. I think that's probably the reason why. Well, you take like Bay Road Heights. It's still there. They're still talking about it. And yet there's a for sale sign out in front of it. They're trying to sell it. So it's B. It's BS is what it is. It's not, it's all about making money. But in the meantime, we continue, what brought this up, to be honest with you, we just had another person come to us and say, we're thinking about putting a 40B in town. And was feeling Mike out on how he felt the town would feel about it. And Mike said, we have a reputation not being very friendly to 40Bs. And hopefully they're backing away. But if they don't back away, we're going to be dealing with another one. After Island Brook, we're going to have yet another one we're going to be dealing with. It just doesn't end, 174 East Main is now built. That's affordable. I don't know how they're doing down there. It's affordable. I think it's full, right? By
What
now?
I don't understand is why Department of Housing does allow these people to do all the applications for 40B, not knowing that they don't even have any money. They should be credibly
Right.
financial, right up front before they even be able to sign up.
And if you look at reasons why you could see them granting extensions, the only thing you could see would be something to do with the economy. Well, these ones have been on so long, they've gone through like 3 cycles.
Right.
So if it wasn't good when the economy was bad, and then good, and then bad, and then good again, when is it?
So I guess the letter should go to the ZBA asking them to consider not approving any additional extensions on these properties, and to ask them to force the state, the Department of Housing and Community Development, to get off their butts and make these guys do what they're supposed to be doing, these developers. Or withdraw. At least we know they're not gonna be out there anymore. We can, if another one comes along, we can say, well, okay, we still have to meet our 10%. Right now, we have no idea where we're gonna go with it. So, can we do that?
Good to me.
We okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, under appointments, we have an appointment of Nicole Salvo to a full-time administrative secretary position in the Planning Zoning Board Department. We have a letter?
Yes.
Would you read that,
Sure.
Mr. Brennan?
I'll read it. Notice of appointment, full-time planning zoning administrative secretary. I hereby notify Board of Selectmen that in accordance with provisions of Article 4, Section 2B of the Norton Charter, acting in my capacity as appointing authority, I have appointed the following individual as full-time administrative secretary to the Planning and Economic Development Department in the Zoning Board of Appeals, Nicole Salvo. Said appointment was made on November 1st, 2018, in accordance with provisions of the Norton Charter. It will be effective November 16th, 2018, unless the Board of Selectmen votes to accept or reject the appointment prior to that date. I specifically request the Board's acceptance of this appointment with an effective date of November 5th, 2018.
So Nicole is presently our recreation director. What is she gonna do there when she's appointed?
She does feel bad about that. I talked to her, but she has everything lined up. And she's got things set up so that in the future, you know, the parade, as we talked about earlier, went off well. She's got everything lined up for the next person to just step in and go with that. Founder's Day, she's got a committee that's working on that already. And she'll be right next door, so until we get someone else into recreation, she'll be right next door to the office, so she'll be able to make sure that any bills that come in or anything like that get paid. And, you know, she's still willing to help out any way she can, and we'll work with the new person when they come in, so. It's, you know, the pool's closed down now, so it's a good time actually to make that transition. You know, Nicole has been great, and I know the planning director is very glad to have someone coming over to finally help him out. He's been inundated, you know, the poor guy knew, here you are, we don't have, the secretary resigned, we don't have anybody. And the same with the ZBA. So this position would be working with both the ZBA and the Planning and Economic Development Office. And Nicole has experience in interior design, so she has some of the knowledge of the field. And obviously, by being the department head in recreation, knows everything that has to be done as far as all the accounts payable. And also the social media, which is Paul DiGiuseppe, the director, is really looking for some more help with, so.
So for the sake of transparency, how did you decide to come up, how did you choose her?
We have to post, when there's a position open in the town hall, we have to post it in the town hall. And so then the workers have first right of refusal. And if no one in the town hall takes the position, then we'd advertise it outside.
So the first step is
Or if the person that applied didn't have the qualifications to take that position, we'd advertise it outside.
So on October 24th, we were notified that you were looking for a full-time person for the position, and advertised it with the understanding that they had the applications and everything done by today,
Today.
November 1st.
Yep.
So someone in-house has decided to
Yep.
take the position.
If someone else had decided they wanted the position also, then we would do the interviews.
So no one else applied, in-house applied for the position?
No.
If that person wasn't qualified, and you're telling us that she is,
Mhm.
if she wasn't, then we would go outside and try to hire somebody.
And we've done that
Yes,
before.
Yes, we have.
Someone wasn't qualified.
Anyone have any questions?
No.
Well, I know Nicole's done a great job for us in recreation, and I'm kind of disappointed that she's leaving, but I also understand the full-time position is obviously going to pay better for her, and I'm sure she could use the money. We're going to advertise right away for another
Yeah.
part-time recreation,
25 hour a week, yep.
25 hours. So if anyone out there is interested, there will be a position open, right? 25 hours a week. And with that 25 hours, it comes with benefits also. So there's health insurance and vacation and all that stuff is included. So if anyone out there has any background in that area, we can definitely looking for somebody to take over and fill the shoes of someone who really was doing a great job for us. Any questions?
No. I move that we accept the appointment of Nicole Salvo as full-time Planning Zoning Administrative Secretary,
Second.
effective November 5th.
That's November 5th. Any further discussion? Mr. Flaherty?
Yes.
Mr. Steele? Mr. Salvo?
Present.
Mr. Bramwell?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Can we make sure we get that, she'll be resigning, I'm assuming, after we make this appointment. So I'm going to get that position advertised as soon as we can, that we have Christmas event coming up, the lighting, what's left of the common, we're going to do the best we can this year. And try to,
Hopefully we get an early frost,
yeah,
so it's frozen.
maybe so. Right now, we wouldn't want to walk on it. Okay, next we have interviews for appointment of the zoning board of appeals. We have a couple.
Two candidates, and one is here.
Come on up. Sorry we had to make you sit through this whole meeting.
I was thinking it must be like a test of some type.
Did you learn anything?
I didn't nap, you know what I'm saying?
Why don't you learn things from me?
What's that?
Why don't you learn things from me?
Good, I learned a lot from you.
There you go.
Mr. Chairman, before we start, how many openings do we have?
We have two orders of interest, and we have a full-time and an alternate position. So we have two positions. Want to identify yourself, please?
Sure, it's David Wren, 34 Laurel Lane.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm basically the story is I've been living in town for 22 years. Haven't really been involved in, government in any way. So I was looking for something to do, get myself involved a little bit. And I was actually inspired at the several town meetings ago when the chairman of the planning committee made a plea, I guess. Yeah, and he did a great job. I was very inspired by it all. And, then I ultimately talked to the prior planning director, Tabitha.
Tabitha, yeah.
And I said, geez, maybe I'll put my name in the hat. And she said, well, actually, as a matter of fact, we got 4 or 5 great resumes. And I don't have no background in planning. And I sat through all the interviews for that there. And then from this night. And so obviously I was certainly not qualified for that compared to everybody else. So anyway, after talking with Tabitha, she suggested perhaps like a role on the ZBA, which would be, something I could learn, a good way to get involved.
Sure.
And so here I am. So my background's basically in finance. I'm a CPA and MBA, real exciting stuff. Almost as exciting as planning, maybe. But so I think I bring that kind of background to it. Kind of a critical way of thinking. And I'm a controller where I work now. So I used to work over at Covidian over in Mansfield. Prior to that, I used to have a big department over there. So I'm used to listening to a lot of people's views as a manager, and trying to come to the right decision. So I think level-headed, whatnot that goes along with it. So.
All right, very good. Anyone have any questions?
No, I'll just remark the fact that, I mean, we've seen David in the past, we know he's involved, and I think after living here for 22 years, we should put him to work.
And we can find another one for him.
Preloading, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But I'm thinking about the rec department now.
Want a part-time job? Any other questions? Well, I thank you for volunteering, really.
No problem.
It's very important that we get people to get involved, and
Sure.
we have a lot of important decisions. We heard us talking about comprehensive 40B permitting earlier.
Right.
You know,
I
that's
thought he was
one,
going to walk out.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
no,
Right,
that's
yeah,
one-
exactly. I was a little worried about that myself.
that's a real sore subject with this board, but I know the ZBA does a great job of getting the best we can out of what they can.
Sure.
Their hands are tied too, so it's just doing the best they can, but. Anything else? Chair, entertain a motion to appoint David Wren to the permanent position on the zoning board of appeals.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
I'm not sure when the next meeting is. I'll find out and let you know, because you have
Okay.
to come in and get sworn in.
Yeah, it gets sworn in.
Okay.
And we'll get you a letter out.
Okay, great.
You have to get sworn in by the town clerk.
Sure.
So,
I'll have to come down.
but that,
Okay,
you'll probably get that done before the next meeting anyway, so.
right.
But thank you very much for volunteering. We really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
The other candidate, is there anything?
Do you want me to have him come in the next meeting?
I don't know. We gotta,
Wasn't he one of the candidates for the planning board position?
I believe it was, yeah.
yeah, he sounds familiar, so.
I think he was the one that was in construction. He
Oh,
worked
okay.
for
Yeah.
a large company or something like that.
Well, the alternate position on the ZBA is just as important as the full-time position. What the alternate does is they sit in on a meeting, they can't take a vote,
Right.
but they listen to the whole process, and if for any reason a permanent member has to excuse themselves or misses a meeting, then the alternate falls into that spot and then becomes a voting part of the
Yep.
committee. So it's a very, very important position, so, and I'm sure they'd love to have somebody on that position also.
I mean, my instinct would be to appoint him, but I'd like Mr. Yunus just to follow up. I'm not sure why he's not here. So,
It might have been a scheduling conflict. He wasn't sure. Okay.
You did contact him, he said, yeah, there was something wrong with the scheduling, he couldn't make it. Okay.
And is he interested in the alternate position?
only because the letter is, actually, I think, was
Permanent
probably
building committee. He's
So it's
al-
for
he's
the
looking-
planning board.
He's looking for the zoning board and also the permanent building committee.
That looks like it's for a position on the planning board, not the way I read it, but.
It said, I'd like to be considered for the zoning board or also the
So
permanent.
he had gone after the planning board, so either ZBA or permanent building committee.
Right, this was after.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, it's just that it's kind of a dated,
July 9th.
so I mean,
Yeah, we hold on to these, and this was after the planning, you did all your planning board interviews, then he said.
okay, so he's still interested.
Yeah.
You've talked to him.
Yeah.
Then I have no problem, because I do remember him as
Yep.
one of the candidates for the planning board.
Yeah, and this is back from July 5th, so it's been around for a while, like Mr. Yunus says. So.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Alan Boulay to the alternate position on the zoning board.
So moved.
second,
Motion is second. Now, if for any reason he's not interested and he lets us know, we can always rescind it.
Right.
Yeah.
We can rescind it. I think it's still a very important position, so.
Yes.
And I'd like to thank him for volunteering. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Can you let him know, please?
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Before we move on, this kind of bothers me every time we have an appointment and resignation where the candidate actually comes in, that they do have to sit through the whole meeting. Can we consider changing our agenda so that when we do have somebody coming in for an appointment, that we bump them up? Only because, seriously, we're not the most exciting bunch to sit through. And, they're taking their time out, to come in
He
and,
enjoyed it.
well, David's like a different
still
type of
sitting here.
person. He probably does enjoy it, but I think the average person would be like, you're kidding me, I have to sit here for
No, I
an
agree.
hour and a half?
And I would have taken it out of order. I didn't realize he was,
Yeah, but, it
I
hits
shouldn't have
me
to.
every time, but then I forget about it, and then.
They having such a good time over there.
So you want,
Well, it's not like this thing is cast in stone, that we couldn't
yeah.
put appointments
Appointments
and
up further.
resignations up
Yeah, first.
Yeah, after announcements.
Something like that.
Okay. Got that?
She's shaking her head.
And yet you're still there.
Wait a minute, you're not appointed yet. Okay.
I agree.
What's the point?
We have,
That's one.
we have another letter, too, from Mr. Christopher Rodriguez, who wants to be appointed to the Norton Historical Commission. So maybe ask him to come in. See that one? Came in today.
It's in there somewhere.
That's Sharon's husband, I think.
Yeah,
Well, he says his wife is on it.
yeah, yeah.
He laughed, that's right.
Selectmen's report and mail, Mr. Salvo.
I don't have anything at the moment. I did, but I forget what it was. I'll move on.
Mr. Bramwell,
All set, thank you.
Mr. Steele.
Mr. Chairman, you guys probably already covered it since I was late, but I do just want to say thank you to everybody who volunteered their time to make the Halloween parade a success. I was actually surprised at how many people were along the route. And also, I just want to give personal thanks to Brad and his family. It seems like every year you guys up the game with that float, and we really appreciate it. We just show up, and you guys have it done, so thank you very much.
I already told Bob, we have big plans for next year.
Oh, you do?
We're
I'm
all
kinda
go-
thinking
we're all gonna
have
be in
to-
costume.
I was going to say, we should all have to.
He's
get
going to
dressed
come up
up.
with a
I'll
theme,
tell you what the theme is later.
and we're going to come up with a costume.
Okay, all right.
And I had a good time with America.
If we need a mascot, if it's part of that, we know who that's for. So. Anything else?
I'm gonna go through all those names again.
Please, do one more time.
No, I'm all set, Mr.
Is
Chairman.
that- Okay, I don't have anything either. I do want to thank the people that came out to the Gold Star and the Norton VFW did a Halloween event a couple of weeks ago. And I want to thank everyone that came out. It was our first time at it. We were kind of muddling our way through it, but we had so much fun. I think we're going to try to do it again next year, and we'll probably do a better job of being prepared for it. The horse-drawn buggy with the kids on the back was a big hit, and it was
I was on there now. Good time.
it was a lot of fun. And the people spooking, again, Wheaton College came out to help us. It was kind of like at the last minute kind of thing, but we did pull it off. And we promised that next year would be more exciting. We're talking about a haunted house next year on the property. We'll try to do it a bit different than we did this year.
That'd be nice.
I want to remind everyone, Saturday night, Sunday morning, it's fall back time.
That's what I
Spring ahead, fall back. So daylight savings time will be kicking in for on Sunday morning, I believe around 2 o'clock. So 4:30 in the afternoon, it's going to be dark outside, and everybody will be ready to go to bed. So
Change the batteries on your
I hate it.
detectors.
Yeah, change your batteries. A few years ago,
That's what I was supposed to remind myself, wasn't it?
Oh,
It's good.
A few years ago, we were talking about petitioning the state to get rid of it. It just,
Oh.
it causes so much commotion and anxiety having to change your clocks twice a year. It just throws everybody off. It's terrible. It really is.
That really bothers you, don't it?
It does.
leave it alone. I need that extra hour.
I know, I
once a
love it.
year.
I
Okay,
do
you're
love it.
1 hour a year.
I need it.
Well, it's a
Whoopie-doo.
wash because you give up on it in the spring.
Yeah, it's a wash.
That's all right.
It takes you so long to recover from that, just getting used to that 1 hour that you're
Come on, you're showing
missing.
your age.
Come
You're
on.
fine.
No, going back's not the problem. I'll be up earlier. But the thing is, when it goes the other way, bugs the crap
That's
out
the
of it.
worst. That's the worst time. This one I don't mind so bad.
It's like the two guys from the Muppets.
Anyway,
Mr. Chairman, I did have one other thing, if you're done.
I'm done. Thank
Okay.
you.
I just wanted, I got the flu shot, and I just wanted to thank the Board of Health and for doing that for the town. I also want to remind everybody that November 19th is a Tuesday. I hope I have the right date.
19th is a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yeah.
I think they have the last one at the Yale School.
That wasn't the flu shot you got.
It wasn't.
No.
Mad Dog. I think it's Monday the 19th. My wife's going to be giving them.
I think it's the 19th, yeah.
So if any of you guys want a shot, I'm sure she'll be glad to give it to you. All right.
When's the next meeting? I won't be here. I won't be here on,
15th.
I won't be here on the 15th. No. Oh, I'm gonna go see Mickey.
Bring your wallet.
Anniversary, so,
Warrants and minutes.
thank you, Mama.
Motion to approve payroll warrant PR 19-09 for the week ending October 20th, 2018, warrant dated October 25th, 2018, in the amount of $1,325,768.61.
So moved.
Second.
Sec.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Motion to approve the invoice warrant AP 19-17 dated October 25th, 2018, in the amount of $477,597.91.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Entertain a motion to approve invoice warrant AP 19-18 dated November 1st, 2018, in the amount of $2,007,196.36.
So moved.
Second. Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We have a number of minutes to approve. June 7th, 2018, June 21st, 2018, July 26th, 2018, October 18th, 2018. We should be pretty close to being up to,
We're getting there.
being close to being done, right? Getting caught up. Anyone have any corrections, deletions?
I do.
We have.
I move that the minutes of June 7th, 2018, June 21st, 2018, July 26th, 2018, October 18th, 2018, we approve those minutes as written.
I just had a suggestion on the minutes of June 7th, 2018. If we can just have Jen take off where it says revised agenda at the top, and then take off where it says next meeting, June 21st. I think those were just left over from the agenda itself. And then the same with June 21st, take off agenda revised and take off next meeting, July 12th.
These must be the minutes that Mr. Units took.
Okay, with those corrections, anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
And I want to thank Pat and Jen for getting us caught up. Pat Tarantino working with us on this too.
Doing your work.
That's right. It's very tough because I got to read my handwritten
Yeah.
notes for those old meetings. And they asked me, I'm like, I don't know what that's. Go to the tape.
Yeah, watch the videotape.
Next meeting agenda we have is November 15th, a hearing at 7:15 PM for Kelly's Place at the Crossing for alterations of premises. We're going to have that warrant article to talk about the contracts, and there was something else, or the building, or the cemetery fees.
And
And
appointment to the historical.
appointment to the Historic District Commission.
I always get those messed up.
Anything else?
Not yet.
Well, if you think of anything, what,
I won't be here if you want to call me or FaceTime me.
Mr. Units know. Want to add anything else to the agenda? Anything else come before the board? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Thanks, Shane.
everybody.